The first thing I noticed was the phone. Chloe used to leave it on the nightstand, screen up, no passcode. We had the kind of marriage where everything was open by default. Then one night I saw her turn away slightly when a notification came in. A week later, there was a new password. She said it was because her friend Olivia had been borrowing her phone too often and messing things up. I nodded. Didn't say anything, but I started watching more closely after that. We'd been married 7 years, no kids. We tried once, early on, but after the second miscarriage, we stopped talking about it. Moose came after that, a mangy mutt from the shelter that we half-joked was our child. He slept at the foot of our bed for 6 years, followed Chloe from room to room, waited by the door when she left. Lately, he'd been waiting longer. She started working out in the evenings, new yoga studio, then barre, then hot Pilates, 3 different gyms in 3 months. Always came back without breaking a sweat. I'd ask how class was, and she'd smile a little too brightly and say, invigorating, like she'd pulled the word from an ad. I'm a paramedic. Long shifts, short windows of rest. You learn to spot small changes fast, subtle signs that something's wrong beneath the surface. I started noticing how she looked past me when I talked, how her hugs lasted 1 second shorter, how she kept volunteering for errands and suddenly had plans with co-workers I'd never met. Moose started sleeping in the hallway. I found him curled by the laundry room one night, belly hollow, water bowl dry. Chloe usually fed him dinner. I refilled the dish, watched him lap it down in seconds, then sat there quietly while he pressed his head against my knee. That was when I knew something was shifting. Not a storm yet, but the pressure in the air had changed. I could feel it in the walls, in Chloe's absence when she was still in the room. I didn't say anything, just started taking mental notes. Moose looked up at me, eyes dim and waiting, like he was hoping I had an answer I didn't know how to give. It started with a receipt. Chloe left her purse open on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping. Just moved it to make room for groceries and saw the paper sticking out. La Cienega Suites, downtown. 1-night stay, paid in full. Date matched to Friday. She'd told me she was staying late to help with inventory. She didn't work in inventory. She worked in HR. I slipped the receipt into my pocket without a sound. Over the next few days, I started checking the phone bill. Her number used to have a quiet rhythm. Me, her sister, maybe her boss. Now there were bursts of activity at strange hours. One number in particular, repeated, daily, midnight sometimes. Blocked ID when I called it. Standard stuff. I borrowed an old friend's app. He's a detective with City PD, and ran the number through a private lookup tool. Jeremy, age 39, personal trainer, divorced twice, 6-pack on Instagram, inspirational quotes in his captions. Nothing illegal, just disappointing. Moose had stopped greeting Chloe at the door. He'd wait behind the couch instead. She barely noticed. I found more receipts after that. Restaurant charges, 2 entrees, 2 drinks, ride shares from unfamiliar addresses, photos hidden in a cloud folder she thought I didn't know existed. One of them was taken in our bathroom. She was smiling into the mirror. He was behind her, shirtless. I didn't confront her. That's never been my style. I believe in being sure before I act. So I copied everything. Photos, texts, receipts, and backed it up across 3 drives, 1 encrypted. I started a private email thread with myself. Every new piece of evidence I sent there. Quiet, organized, like writing a report. The last thing I saved was a video. Short clip of Jeremy scratching Moose behind the ears. Moose's tail wasn't wagging. He looked thin. The timestamp was 2 days before I noticed the dry food bowl. That night, I sat on the back steps with Moose and fed him a hot dog from the grill. Chloe was out with co-workers again. I didn't wait up, just sat under the porch light, hand resting on the dog's back, thinking about how quiet betrayal can be when you're paying attention. How it doesn't scream, it whispers, over time, until even the dog knows. I chose a Thursday night, no work the next morning. She'd just gotten home from yoga, hair too clean, makeup too fresh. Moose didn't get up from the floor when she came in. She stepped over him without looking. I waited until after she poured a glass of wine, the good bottle from the back of the pantry, and sat down at the kitchen island scrolling through her phone. "I need to ask you something," I said, voice level. She looked up. "Okay." I pulled out the receipt from the hotel, set it on the counter between us, then the text printouts, a screenshot of the mirror photo. I didn't speak, just watched her expression shift, micro adjustments behind her eyes. "What is this?" she asked after a long pause. "You tell me." She glanced down again, slower this time, then back up. "I don't know what you think you found, but this isn't what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like." Her lips pressed into a tight line. The performance was gone now. No tears, no apologies, just stillness. "I've known for weeks," I said. I didn't want to believe it. She exhaled. "Fine. You want the truth?" "Yeah. I've been seeing someone. I didn't plan it, it just happened." I waited. "It's not like we've been happy," she added, tone sharpening. "You're never home. Always tired. You talk more to that dog than you talk to me." The dog. Always the dog. "He's barely eating," I said. "You haven't taken him for a walk in a week." She shrugged. "He's your dog anyway." There it was. Simple, flat, like she was talking about a shirt that no longer fit. "You're not even going to pretend to care?" I asked. "What would be the point?" She stood, grabbed her wine, and walked out of the room. Left me sitting there with a counter full of truth and a silence that no longer needed filling. Moose got up after a while, padded over, and sat at my feet. I ran my hand along his ribs, felt the outline of bones that shouldn't be visible. That was the moment I knew. The marriage was dead. But something worse had been quietly starving along with it. I packed in silence. 2 duffel bags and a plastic tub of essentials. She stayed upstairs most of the time, barely looked up when I left. Said she'd be seeing someone about the lease transfer. The house was technically hers now. I didn't fight it. Fighting wasn't the point. I found a short-term rental on the edge of town, converted garage unit behind a retired couple's home. 1 bedroom, mismatched furniture, tiny fenced yard. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Clean slate, fresh key, no memories in the walls. Moose stayed behind. That was the part that didn't sit right. She offered to keep him for now, said she had more space, that it made sense. I hesitated, told her I'd come by to pick him up in a few days. She smiled, slow and practiced. "Whatever's best for him." He watched me from the living room window as I pulled away, head tilted, ears low. I tapped the steering wheel the whole way to the rental like I could shake something loose. My chest was tight. My gut said no. My gut screamed, but I ignored it. 3 days later, I texted to ask how he was doing. No reply. Called. Voicemail. When she finally answered, her voice was clipped. "He's fine. I've been busy." Then she hung up. I should have turned around right then. knocked on the door, taken him back. But part of me still believed she wouldn't hurt him. Not really. Part of me still believed the woman I married was under there somewhere, even if I couldn't see her anymore. I went back to work, double shifts to keep my hands busy. Nights were quiet. Too quiet. I'd reach for his leash before remembering. See his food bowl in the corner of my brain. Forget it wasn't there anymore. The rental didn't have internet. I used my phone. One night I opened her Instagram. She hadn't blocked me. Her stories were full of yoga poses, brunches, and selfies in the mirror. No moose. Not once. That's when the knot started to tighten for good. I didn't know what I'd done. Trust, maybe. Or wait too long. But something was wrong. And I had a feeling the worst part hadn't even started yet. It started with missed calls. First one, then two. I'd text to check in on Moose. Basic stuff. How's he eating? Did you get him to the vet like we talked about? No response. I tried calling. Voicemail every time. At first I told myself she was busy, that she was being difficult on purpose, dragging things out just to prove a point. But a week passed. Then two. Not a single update. Not a photo. Not even an emoji. I reached out to Olivia, her friend. We'd been civil over the years. She didn't reply either. Then I noticed something else. Chloe had blocked me. Instagram, Facebook, even Venmo. Like I'd never existed. The posts I could still see through a work account were polished, curated. Gym check-ins, cocktails with friends. New beginnings in looping cursive. No sign of Moose. I messaged a mutual friend from EMS who knew her casually. You talked to Chloe lately? I asked. Yeah, she replied. She said you've been blowing up her phone. Sounded like she's worried about you. Said you're unstable. That word sat in my mouth like metal. Unstable. It was subtle, the way she flipped the story. Turned concern into obsession. Made the lie sound like compassion. I didn't answer after that. Just stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Moose hadn't been to the vet since I left. I checked the records. No activity. His chip was still in my name, but legally she had possession. That was the part that killed me. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I trusted her not because she deserved it, but because I needed to believe some piece of her was still decent. I was wrong. 2 more weeks passed. Still nothing. I told myself if I hadn't heard by the end of the month, I'd drive over. Knock on the door, get him back no matter what it took. I didn't get the chance. Because the truth found me first, in a way I never saw coming. Not a phone call, not a visit. Just a message from a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Hey, it said. You need to see this. Don't watch it at work. Attached was a link. TikTok. It was only 21 seconds long. Grainy footage, vertical frame. Chloe's voice chirpy and exaggerated, distorted slightly by a puppy face filter. Moose stood in the background, ribs sharp, legs trembling slightly. His fur was dull, eyes too big for his face. Somebody's being a little drama queen, she said, pointing the camera toward him. Refusing to eat again. Maybe he misses his daddy? She laughed. The sound made my skin crawl. There were sparkles in the corner of the screen. Overlay filters. Digital hearts fluttering over Moose's head while he stared blankly at the floor. He didn't move. Just stood there like his legs were the only part of him still connected to life. Then the hashtags. Pet problems. Divorce drama. Ex-husband energy. Send help, not really. Should have taken the dog. I paused the video. Sat there in the dark with my phone in one hand, thumb frozen over the screen. My jaw was clenched so tight it ached. I played it again. Watched every frame, every flicker of her smile, every calculated beat of cruelty disguised as humor. The comments were limited, probably to avoid reporting, but a few likes had slipped through. Maybe her burner friends. Maybe strangers who didn't know what they were watching. I saved the video. Then I scrubbed her name across every social platform. Found the account. Anonymous profile photo, a fake name, but her voice was unmistakable. She'd posted more. Filters, jokes, cryptic captions. One video showed Moose sleeping on a cold floor with a voiceover. When your ex leaves, but the dog stays. That one had music layered under it. Something upbeat and mocking. I stopped breathing for a moment. Just sat there while my heart hammered in my chest. This wasn't neglect anymore. It was punishment. She didn't just forget about Moose. She didn't just fail to care for him. She was starving him, slowly, publicly, as a performance, as a joke. And I knew exactly why. It wasn't about the dog. It was never just about the dog. It was about me. A quiet punishment, designed to hurt where it would land deepest, not with screaming or slamming doors, just a slow, public erasure of the one thing she knew I loved without condition. She thought I'd do nothing. She was wrong. Instead, I opened my laptop. I saved the TikTok video to 3 locations: hard drive, cloud folder, and encrypted USB. Then I ran it through a metadata extractor. Timestamp, upload source, device ID, every line of data was another nail in the box she didn't know she was building for herself. Then I started digging. The burner account was sloppy, same writing style, same speech patterns. She'd linked it to a throwaway Gmail using a phone number I recognized. An old work cell she once used when her main line broke. A few reverse lookups confirmed it. It didn't stop with the dog videos. There were posts dating back 3 months, mostly vague jabs about our breakup, when your husband runs away from real life, and living my truth, even if it's petty. Then came the clips with Moose, each one worse than the last, subtle but telling. He was always alone, always lethargic, no water bowl in sight. I screenshotted everything: posts, comments, account linkages, even browser caches showing when the videos had been uploaded. There were gaps between the public face she showed online and this hidden one, 2 versions of herself colliding in digital shadow. Then I made a list: dates, videos, behavior patterns, a timeline that showed intent. I didn't send it to anyone. Not yet. I just stared at it for a long time, anger pressing behind my eyes like steam under a lid. Then I called Laura. We used to date years back. Now she runs a local rescue out in Greenbridge. She's practical, blunt, and allergic to drama. "Ethan," she said, "what's going on?" "I need advice," I said, "about a dog. Possible neglect." "Yours?" "Not exactly." She didn't ask many questions, just told me what to look for. Signs of malnourishment, dehydration, stress behavior. She explained what animal control could and couldn't do, how hard it is to prove cruelty unless there's blood or a body. Before she hung up, she said one more thing. "People think dogs don't talk, but they do. You just have to watch long enough." That night I watched Moose again. Not on video. In my memory. and I started planning exactly how to make his voice heard. I filed the report anonymously, used a library computer on the east side, left no name, no callback number, just the address, a detailed description of Moose, and a link to the TikTok video. I checked the submission form 3 times before clicking send. Then I sat back and waited. Animal control showed up 2 days later. I know because I was parked across the street, tucked behind a tinted windshield with a coffee that had gone cold an hour before. 2 officers, neutral expressions. They knocked twice before Chloe answered in leggings and a tank top, her voice syrupy and warm. They stayed for 17 minutes. I watched them kneel to greet Moose on the front porch. He was thinner than the last video, ribs sharp, tail limp, but he stood, wobbled slightly, and gave a polite wag. I could see it from the car. They asked questions, took notes. Chloe smiled, shrugged, nodded, pointed to a bag of kibble by the door like it meant something. I imagined the script. He's old. He's picky. My ex is bitter. Standard deflections. They left without him. I waited until their van turned the corner before driving off, stopped 2 blocks down and called the dispatch line. I submitted a tip, I said, still anonymous. Can you tell me what happened? The woman's voice was polite but flat. We completed a welfare check. The animal was underweight, but no immediate signs of abuse. The owner stated the dog is recovering from illness and has been prescribed a new diet. We advised follow-up and will monitor the situation. That was it. Monitor. Like she hadn't posted his condition as entertainment. Like filters and hashtags somehow didn't count as intent. I said thank you, hung up, and drove home with my hands locked tight at 10 and 2. That night I opened the file again. Added notes from the visit. Screenshots of Chloe's next post. A wine glass in her hand. The caption unbothered, and Moose curled in the background like a dying afterthought. She thought that was it. That the check would be the end of it. That she'd outmaneuvered me again. But I'd learned something that day. Not about her. About the system. And if it wasn't going to protect him, I would. Properly. Legally. Permanently. Starting now. It took me 6 days to find the loophole. Laura was the one who tipped me off. If Moose is still registered in your name and chipped, you might be able to file a transfer request based on abandonment or neglect, she said. Depends on the vet. Depends on the state. I pulled up his records. My name was still listed as primary owner. Then I made the call. The clinic Chloe used when we adopted Moose was still in the system. I explained the situation, asked if they'd seen him recently. They hadn't. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell them I wasn't in the house anymore. Said the dog was losing weight fast, and I was concerned. They offered an emergency intake appointment the next day. Now I just had to get him there. I showed up at Chloe's house at 6:45 a.m. with a leash and a clipboard. She opened the door, bleary-eyed, in a robe. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm taking him to the vet," I said. Calm. Even. "I've already cleared it." She started to object. I didn't flinch. Just held out the form from the microchip registry, updated ownership status pending health review. She looked at it. Scoffed. "He's fine." "He doesn't look fine." "He's your problem now," she muttered, turning back inside. Moose was in the corner. He didn't bark, didn't move at first. When he finally stood, his back legs shook slightly. He walked to me slowly, leaned against my knee the way he used to. I lifted him into the car. The vet didn't ask questions, just took him in, weighed him, checked his vitals. He was 12 pounds under normal range, dehydrated, anemic. His fur was brittle, gums pale. His heart rate was elevated. They documented everything, took photos, signed affidavits. "He's not dying," the vet said carefully. "But he's been neglected. For weeks, maybe longer." They kept him for observation. I stayed in the waiting room until after dark, just in case. When they brought him out to me, he walked straighter, eyes clearer. I signed the temporary transfer form with shaking hands. "I've got you now," I whispered to him. And I meant it. I called Rick on a Sunday morning. He was my old roommate from paramedic training, now a lawyer in private practice, mostly civil litigation. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but when he picked up, his voice was warm. "I hear you've got a situation," he said after I gave him the basic outline. "I've got documentation," I said. "Medical, video, witness statements. I want to make this official." We met the next morning at a cafe outside the courthouse. I brought a folder, a flash drive, and Moose, curled up at my feet, his ribs still visible but rising steadily with each breath. Rick scanned the vet report first, then the TikTok clips, then the screenshots. His jaw tensed by the time he reached the metadata analysis. "This is enough," he said quietly. "More than enough." He laid it out for me in 3 parts. First, criminal case, animal cruelty, supported by the vet's statement and digital evidence. Not a guaranteed felony, but enough for misdemeanor charges at the very least, especially with public distribution of harm. Second, civil case, emotional distress, intentional infliction of harm, reputational defamation. The posts targeting me, mocking the situation, could be framed as calculated attacks. The video alone showed intent. Third, protective action. Filing for permanent transfer of pet custody under emergency intervention. With the vet and rescue backing me, it would hold. I didn't speak for a minute, just watched a woman walk by with her golden retriever, leash in one hand, coffee in the other. The dog looked back at Moose. Moose didn't lift his head. "Do it," I said finally. "All of it." Rick nodded. "I'll draft the paperwork." That night, I built a digital archive. 2 backups, 1 local, 1 cloud-based. I sorted everything by type: medical, video, legal, correspondence. Created a read-only copy with a password no one could guess. I even uploaded a 3rd encrypted version to a secure dead man's switch, a server that would release it publicly if something happened to me. Not because I expected danger, but because I wasn't going to be careless. Not again. This wasn't about revenge. It was about proof. About making sure no one could look away and say, "Well, we didn't know." Now they would. Soon, everyone would. I waited until Moose had gained 5 pounds. He was still thin, still flinched when metal bowls clinked together, but he was walking stronger, eating twice a day, even wagging his tail when I came home. I gave him time to recover because I wasn't going to make this about vengeance. It had to be about him, about truth, about documentation. I drafted the statement late one night. No names, no locations, just facts. This is Moose. I adopted him 6 years ago. He's been my best friend through the hardest chapters of my life. When my marriage ended, I trusted someone to care for him temporarily while I got back on my feet. This is what he looked like when I picked him up. I included 2 photos. One from the vet's office. Moose curled in a metal cage, bones visible, eyes sunken. The other from my phone, taken that morning, with him lying in a patch of sunlight on my kitchen floor. The vet said it would have taken weeks for him to deteriorate that far. The videos I found online confirmed it. He was mocked, neglected, and used for attention while starving. I've taken full custody, he's recovering, and we're okay now. Then I added, sometimes abuse doesn't leave bruises. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, dressed up in filters and hashtags. But cruelty is cruelty, even when it gets likes. I posted it to a quiet account I barely used anymore. Added the number Justice for Moose hashtag someone had once sent me as a joke. And then I logged off. I didn't check for a full day. When I came back, the post had 11,000 shares. People were stitching it, reposting it, sending messages, offering support, donations, foster applications. Rescue groups picked it up. Animal rights blogs ran with it. I got 3 emails from local news stations and 1 from a national outlet asking for comment. Still, I said nothing else. No names, no direct accusations, just one truth, spoken clearly and without anger. Moose mattered, and someone had treated him like garbage. That was all it took. The internet filled in the rest. The first domino to fall was her job. Chloe worked in branding for a mid-sized wellness company, sustainable candles, yoga retreats, recycled packaging with pastel fonts. Her face had been featured in promos, testimonials about balance, alignment, empathy. 2 days after the post went viral, the company issued a statement. We do not condone cruelty or the mistreatment of animals. We are investigating recent claims involving a member of our team and have taken immediate steps to address the situation. She was scrubbed from their website by the end of the week. Then the sponsors started backing out. A vegan snack brand dropped her from their ambassador list. A wellness podcast deleted their interview with her. One boutique clothing brand posted a TikTok simply stating, "We've ended our collaboration with Chloe effective immediately. Be kind to animals." I hadn't tagged anyone, hadn't messaged a soul. But people are smart. They connected the dots, found the burner account, matched her voice, screenshotted old captions, cross-referenced locations. Someone even spliced the TikTok clips into a single video with timestamps, set to sad piano music. It hit 1 million views in 2 days. Former friends started unfollowing her. I saw it happen in real time. Even Olivia, her old ride or die, took down photos of them together and posted a vague story about choosing empathy over loyalty. Then came Chloe's rebuttal. She went live on her primary account. Hair curled, makeup neat, backdrop blurred. Said the videos were taken out of context, that they were meant as satire to cope with divorce stress. Claimed I was harassing her, obsessively stalking her, spinning a narrative to win sympathy. The comment section didn't go the way she hoped. People asked why Moose looked like he hadn't eaten in weeks, why no vet records existed from her time, why she had laughed while showing visible neglect. She deleted the video after 12 hours, then locked her account. I didn't respond, didn't clarify, didn't join the noise. Moose was curled on the couch next to me while it all unfolded. He stretched, let out a small grunt, and rested his head on my lap. This wasn't about destroying her. It was about telling the truth and letting people decide what they saw. And they did. She never expected it to go to court. Rick filed the civil suit 2 weeks after the vet's final report came in. The charges were clear: animal neglect, intentional infliction of emotional distress, reputational defamation. We attached the videos, vet documentation, screenshots. IP traces from her burner account, and a sworn statement from Olivia, who, after distancing herself, finally admitted Chloe had been spiraling for a while. The summons landed with a soft thud in her mailbox. I know because I watched from my car down the street. Moose was in the passenger seat, nose pressed to the window. She opened the envelope with her thumb, frowned, and went back inside without looking around. We didn't ask for jail, just the truth. In writing, under oath. Discovery was brutal. Chloe's lawyer tried to argue the videos were satirical content, edited for dramatization, but metadata doesn't lie. The original files were still saved on her device, untouched, unfiltered. She had posted them intentionally, knowing the state of the dog in every frame. Then came the digital forensic review. Rick's team found multiple fake accounts traced back to Chloe's IP. Accounts that had left passive-aggressive comments on my old posts, that sent vague threats through anonymous messaging apps. One account had emailed my station, nothing overt, just enough to make the chief ask if I was doing okay. She denied all of it at first, said someone must have spoofed her address. But under deposition, when pressed with timestamps and matching login patterns, her silence cracked. I was angry, she said, eventually. He humiliated me. The room stayed quiet. Her lawyer looked exhausted. Rick didn't gloat. He just thanked her for the honesty and moved on. What little credibility she had left collapsed by the second hearing. Witnesses came forward, former co-workers, neighbors, even her old yoga instructor, talking about erratic behavior, bursts of rage, stories about the dog my ex cared about more than me. By the end of the month, the court granted a formal restraining order. A judge ruled in my favor on every count. She avoided eye contact when we passed in the hallway, clutched a handbag too tight, smiled for no one. That was the last time I saw her in person. Just shadows after that. The settlement came with conditions. Chloe forfeited all claim to Moose. That part wasn't negotiable. The judge signed off on full custody, language they usually reserved for children, but it fit. Moose wasn't property. He was part of me. She paid damages. Not much, but enough to cover the vet bills, legal costs, and a few months of lost wages. What mattered more was the apology, buried deep in the signed agreement. Admitted neglect, confirmed the videos were real, confessed to the harassment. In exchange, we didn't pursue criminal charges. Her lawyer called it a mercy. I called it closure. The plea deal saved her from jail time, but not from consequences. Her company made the suspension permanent. Her online presence disappeared almost overnight. She applied for new jobs under a different name, but the internet doesn't forget. The story followed her like a stain. People stopped inviting her to things. Friends moved on. The apartment she used to post selfies in went up for rent. She emailed me once. Short, formal. I hope Moose is okay. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because by then, he was. He'd gained weight. His coat was shiny again. He'd started barking when someone knocked, tail thumping against the floor like it was full of light. I never gloated, never posted follow-ups. I didn't need to weaponize her downfall. The truth was loud enough, and silence, my silence, became its own kind of verdict. Sometimes people ask me why I didn't push for more. Why I let her walk away without wearing handcuffs. The answer is simple. Because I wasn't trying to destroy her. I was trying to rescue what she left behind. Moose didn't need revenge. He needed recovery. and I needed a life that didn't circle her gravity anymore. The case closed. The headlines faded. People moved on. But I stayed steady, kept working, kept walking Moose down the same quiet streets where everything had once cracked open. He sniffed every mailbox like it mattered. I let him. That was the real win. Not the ruling, not the restitution. Just the simple fact that Moose was alive, and that this time, nobody could take him from me. The mornings are quiet now. No buzzing phones, no second guessing, just the scrape of my coffee mug on the kitchen counter, the sound of Moose's tail thumping against the floor when he hears the cupboard open. He sleeps through the night again, curled in his usual spot by the foot of the bed. No pacing, no whimpering, just rest. Deep, safe rest. He's filled out, coat thick, eyes bright. The kind of dog people stop to admire on walks. They don't see the story beneath the surface, the ribs that used to show, the way he used to flinch at raised voices. He's moved on in a way only animals can, fully, with no need to narrate the pain. I envy that sometimes. I started volunteering at a rescue 2 towns over. One weekend turned into 3, then 5. Now I'm there twice a week, cleaning kennels, walking dogs, helping match them with the right families. There's a kind of healing in it. Quiet work, no glory, just presence, a leash in your hand, a tail wagging because you showed up. I moved into a small place just outside the city. Modest, clean, enough space for a garden, a reading chair, and a dog door that Moose figured out faster than I expected. He patrols the backyard like it's a military perimeter. I let him. He's earned it. Every now and then, someone recognizes the story, a volunteer, a client. "You're the guy from that post," they'll say. "The one with the dog." I nod. That's me. They always ask the same question. Did she ever apologize? The answer never changes. She apologized on paper, under pressure, when silence would have cost her more. That's not an apology. That's paperwork. But I don't talk about her anymore. Not because I'm avoiding the past, because I've already left it. I still have the folder, the documents, the photos, everything backed up and time-stamped. Not out of spite, just proof, for myself, that I didn't imagine it, that I got through it, that some part of me stayed whole. Sometimes people say I won, but it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like surviving, like refusing to be twisted into someone bitter or cruel, like protecting what mattered, even when no one else was looking. Moose stretches beside me as I write this, letting out a long sigh. He's safe. I'm steady. And that's enough. Sometimes you don't win by fighting. You win by surviving, documenting, and refusing to let them break what's good in you. This story was brutal, but this story on the right-hand side is even more insane.